Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with allthingsbbq.com, and this is Salmon and Avocado Eggs Benedict. Hey guys, Happy New Year. How you feeling? Did you have fun last night? Sleep in a little bit today maybe? Are you hungry? You need some breakfast? Probably need some breakfast, something to make you feel a little better. We're gonna make some Eggs Benedict today. Sorry, I won't be too loud. You know, you need something to help you get over the hump. Something that doesn't make you hate yourself, but also makes you feel better. And that's right where this Salmon and Avocado Eggs Benedict falls. Now, if you know anything about Eggs Benedict, it's the English muffin with ham and the poached egg on top, but most importantly, that Hollandaise sauce. This is that life sauce, the stuff that's gonna wake you up today. So we're gonna be making a lot of that stuff, but instead of the ham, we're gonna be doing some salmon. You can feel good about salmon. It's a new year. It's a great little protein to start with. And of course, some avocado, that nice healthy fat and wonderful flavor. So let's jump right into this by making our Hollandaise sauce. So we're gonna start off by separating out some egg yolks. We need 3 yolks for our Hollandaise sauce. And Hollandaise is essentially a mayonnaise made with butter rather than oil, which means it tastes amazing. And this yolk is going to be the start of that emulsion that we're gonna add the butter to. Now we're gonna be making a blender Hollandaise today, which is gonna save your arms some trouble, and it also means we can use some whole butter. But before we get to that, we're gonna add a couple tablespoons of just some warm water. We're gonna bring all this together in this little cup so you can see what's going on before we transfer this over to the blender. We need a tablespoon now of lemon juice. We're also gonna add 1 teaspoon of our Pitfire hot sauce. A little acidity on top of that lemon, a little heat. And then just do a pinch here of our black garlic salt and some Telecherry black peppercorns. So that base we're gonna put into the Vitamix now. And then right here in front of it, we've got some butter, 2 sticks of butter that we've melted down. And we're trying to bring this to about 170 to 175 degrees because we're gonna slowly cook those eggs as we drizzle this in. All right, so we're just gonna get this blender going on low to start. This is definitely a little different than the classic version in which we would use clarified butter and whisk all of this by hand, but it's also easier to do. So what we're gonna do is take our butter now and just slowly start to drizzle this in. And we're creating that emulsion between the fat of the butter and the liquid that we've got in our base down there with the eggs. And at first you might be wondering if it's working. Just go slow. If you need to give it a little bit of a tilt, you can do that to make sure that you're getting a full blend on everything. And then we're just gonna continue to add this very slowly. And what's gonna happen is this sauce is gonna thicken up and lighten up in color. Finish off the last of the butter. You can see how it's lightened up in color now. Let's take a look. Check it out. You get your creamy Hollandaise sauce. Let's have a taste. Yeah, it's thickened up really nicely. That's the consistency you're going for. Oh man. It's fatty, but it's lemony. I mean, that's Hollandaise, that's for sure. I'm gonna hit it with just a little bit more of our black garlic salt. Just another dash of hot sauce. And we're gonna call that good. All right, now the thing about Hollandaise is it's known to separate and break. So what you have to do in order to store this is just to keep it warm. And occasionally you wanna whisk it. So what I'm gonna do here is transfer this to a bowl. You're gonna make a double boiler, which means just putting this over a pot of warm water so it gently keeps it warm. You don't want your sauce to be touching the water at all. because that can cook it. You just want to keep it in a warm spot, and we'll even put a lid on this to trap that heat in there because it's pretty cold out here today. So the salmon we're working with today, this is fillets of sockeye salmon, not terribly thick, which means they're gonna cook pretty quickly. These are about 6 ounces a piece, give or take. These still have the scales on the back of them, but I actually want to be able to eat this skin. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and take the scales off of the salmon just using a knife. You'll just scrape the surface, and this can be a little messy, and you're gonna wanna rinse these when you're done, but you can kind of see where the scales have come out, and that's how you know that those scales are gone. But just take your knife, working against the scale until they flake off, and then you'll want to rinse the skin to make sure you got all of those scales off of there. So now we've got these all cleaned up, the scales are off of there. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna take the skin side of the salmon, we're gonna cut some slices into it. So you just wanna pierce the skin, go down to the flesh, and you can kind of squeeze it as you do this. We're gonna make these little incisions. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna really allow the fat and that skin to render out. It's gonna crisp up the skin. It'll also help the fish to not curl while it's cooking. So just like that, we're gonna slice down every single one of these fillets, and then we'll get them seasoned up. All right, so now moving on to seasoning these, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna hit them with a little bit of oil, some nice olive oil. You rub that down into the cuts as well. And then we're just gonna very simply season this today with some of our Jacobsen black garlic salt, same stuff we use in the Hollandaise. And then we'll do some fresh cracked black pepper. And you can see we're gonna work down into each one of these cuts as we're seasoning. So we hit that now with some pepper, and then we'll flip it over and season the opposite side. Again, just a little bit of oil. Salt, and we'll hit it with the pepper. All right, so obviously your Eggs Benedict has to have the poached egg. So what I'm doing here is just preparing for that by straining off the loose white that's really runny. There's a thick white, and then there's the thinner, looser white. And that thinner, looser white just kind of clouds up all of the water, creates these stringy little whites when you're poaching the egg. So we're just gonna get rid of that. So what you're left with there is just the thick white and the yolk. So we've also got our English muffins here, and some of the stuff that we're gonna finish our Eggs Benedict with. We'll come back to that later. For now, what I wanna do is I'm just going to take the very top of this off. And we're not gonna use this part in the recipe, but I want a nice thick base to lay our salmon on. And we're gonna toast that, so we'll take some butter over to the griddle as well. But essentially just taking that top thin layer off so we can get a nice buttery, crispy top on there. But today we're gonna be cooking on Le Griddle. It's gonna give us all the space we need to do all of this all at once. All right, so we're gonna take our thickest cuts of salmon first. And we've got this over kind of a medium heat, but it's really hot. Skin side down. We'll let that fat render out. That fourth piece is a little thin, so I'm gonna wait just a minute to put that on. So what we're looking for here is we want that white layer, that opaque fish, that's the cooked fish, to come about 1/2 to 2/3 of the way up from the bottom. At this point, the skin should be nice and crispy, and we can flip this over and get a little color on the top as well. Oh yeah, nice rendered skin there. Hold back just a little bit on me. Beautiful. Oh yeah, that looks beautiful. This guy's gonna need just a little bit more time. But we'll move right over next to the salmon and put some butter down so we can start to toast. Woo! So we can start to toast our muffins. So now, as far as the poaching liquid goes, you've got your water. You want it to be just below the simmer. There really shouldn't be any bubbles coming up from the bottom. And if you've got that, you need to turn your heat down. As soon as those bubbles from the bottom that are coming up disappear, we know that we're ready to drop our eggs. So we're just gonna do this one by one. Go gently so that we make sure that those yolks stay intact. You can already see the first ones are turning opaque. I'm gonna set a timer for 2 minutes now. Well, our salmon has come up to 145 on the internal temperature now, so we're gonna be pulling these off. Getting a nice toast on the buns. Let's just flip those over to warm them from the bottom side as well. 2 minutes on the eggs now. So we're gonna pull these out with a slotted spoon. Gently. We still want that yolk to be runny. I'm gonna put these on a paper towel just to get that excess moisture off of there. I think that's done. Yeah, that one's, it's got some jiggle to it. Let's look at what's going on in there. I actually think that was just water. All right, so these are looking good. You can see those yolks have some play to them. Let's set those aside. All right, so everything is off the griddle. We're ready to bring it all together. Now, typically on a plate, I would just start with some spinach. We're gonna build all 4 of these right here on the board. So I'll show you how I would do this on a plate, even though we're gonna be building them on the board. Nice to have some greens underneath there. They'll kind of soak up some of the juices. We're gonna add just a little tangy bite with our Kozlik's Dijon Classique. Next, we're gonna put our salmon on top of there. You can serve that skin side up or skin side down, however you like. That bottom looks really nice though. All right, now for the avocado. Each one of these is going to get half of an avocado sliced up. Let's get the pit out of there. And then we'll just go ahead and slice it right here in the skin carefully. Do not go through the skin, especially if you're working with a sharp knife. Just scoop that out. And then we'll just fan that across the salmon. Before we hit it with the egg and the Hollandaise, I'm gonna give this a little bit of our everything bagel seasoning right on top of the avocado. And we'll come in and land these poached eggs. Still see that proper jiggle to the yolk. Let's finish it off with the Hollandaise. Now the Hollandaise is thickened up just a little bit. I'm gonna thin that out with some more of that warm water that we added initially. You can just thin it out to your desired consistency. But you know, you want it to like beautifully cascade over the sides of your salmon. You don't want just a thick glob of it on top. This is looking like a pretty good way to start the year. Before I taste it, just a little bit of hot sauce. That's how I like it. I'm gonna make sure I get a little bit of that avocado, the egg, the salmon. You know what, the muffin doesn't really matter to me, but oh, good morning. That is great. Salmon for breakfast, right? That skin is so tasty. Totally worth the effort of taking the scales off. If you don't want to do it, you can buy it scaled. But man, the way that mixes with the poached egg, that everything bagel seasoning on top of the avocado, get yourself some greens in there too. I'm telling you, we're starting 2021 the right way. Adios 2020. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out allthingsbbq.com for all the products featured in today's video. If you enjoy the recipe, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to allthingsbbq.com/thesauce. All Things Barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.